Last week, for the very first time, I tried a recipe that I saw on Pinterest, and it turned out very well. I'm Jendi from jendysjournal.com. The recipe I tried is called Cinnamon Roll Pool Bread, and it's from the website chef-in-training.com. So, it was very simple. It was things that I already had. You start with a loaf of French bread, and since I get some day-old bread for free, that worked out really well. I took my electric knife and cut through the bread so that I ended up with half-inch squares. And the recipe stated that I should be careful not to cut the whole way through, which I was. Then I took a half a cup of butter, I melted it in the microwave, and poured it through all those places that I had cut. The next thing was a half a cup of brown sugar, a half cup of white sugar, and 1 teaspoon cinnamon. Stirred that together and put that in all of the areas that I had cut as well. Next, I baked it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. The recipe calls for a cream cheese glaze on top, but number one, I didn't have cream cheese, and number two, we're not real keen on cream cheese, so I just left that part out, and it worked fine. I took a cup of powdered sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. Just stir that up with a whisk, actually, and pour that over the top. Then I called my kids, who immediately started to devour it. I had to save a chunk for my husband. My kids gave it a thumbs up, so that was good. A couple things I would change. It seemed like a lot of sugar. It seemed like not a lot of butter, and she said that I could add more butter to it, but I wasn't sure because it was the first time I made the recipe, so I thought I would stick to the recipe the first time, and next time I would try something different. I think it was a fine amount of butter, but then in eating it, it was an awful lot of sugar. And I thought that probably would change if the size of my loaf of bread was different sizes, so I think I would put a little bit less sugar on next time, but I would keep the same amount of cinnamon and butter. The other thing I would do is not dump the sugar on when I already had it on the tray that was going into the oven, because the sugar that was around the loaf kind of burnt and didn't smell as good. So while it still smelled kind of like cinnamon rolls were baking, you still kind of smelled a little bit of the burnt sugar around on the tray. So that was just laziness on my part. But anyways, it turned out good. We really enjoyed it. I plan to make it again with some different kinds of breads, but we did like the French bread very well. And that was my first recipe that I found on Pinterest and then made. So who knows what's to come next. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel before you go.